further updates from the United States. We move on now, where President Trump has demanded a $1 billion fine from the prestigious University of California system as his administration pressed its allegations of anti-Semitism over UCLA's response to 2024 student protests related to the war in Gaza. The amount, 5 times what Columbia University paid to resolve similar federal anti-Semitism claims, would completely devastate the UC public university system, a senior official has said on the matter. President James Milliken, who oversees the University of California's 10 campuses, including UCLA in Los Angeles, said the administration received the $1 billion demand on Friday and currently are reviewing it. He said, as a public university, taxpayer resources are being managed by the US, and our nation's leading public university system would be severely damaged and significant harm would be inflicted on our students and all Californians by a payment of this magnitude. That's a statement there. We're once again joined by Andrew Latham to discuss this further. Andrew, what is your analysis of Trump's prosecution and demands that universities claim responsibility for anti-Semitism on their campus over protests over the war in Gaza? Donald Trump obviously is an advocate for free speech. What do you say to critics that are saying that they are simply exercising their First Amendment that's written in the American Constitution?
Well, there is something to that. There's often 2 or more sides to these sorts of debates. If you recall, the presidents of various universities were called before Congress last year and again this year, and basically admitted that they had fallen short when it came to protecting the rights of Jewish identifying students on their campuses. I would remind your viewers that back in 2024, there was a moment of moral panic in this country around the Gaza situation, and the normal political and social guardrails came down on campuses, and there was a lot of overt and covert anti-Semitism manifesting itself. Now, the question is, what's the resolution to that? Do you simply haul those university and college presidents on the carpet and say, tisk, tisk, don't do that again. Adhere to your own rules and standards and norms, which prevent this kind of activity? Or do you engage in this kind of punitive and retributive policy of withholding federal funds or claiming back federal funds? There are 2 kinds of higher education institutions in the U.S., one of which is private. That's the place I work at, Macalester College. We receive federal funds to support research and student loans, et cetera, but we're not owned by the state government. And the University of California system is the largest public university. It is owned by the state of California. Trump has been emboldened. Every other institution of higher education that he's gone after has paid up. And it's like with respect to geopolitics, India is not rolling over, but Japan and the European Union, et cetera, rolled over on his tariff demands. And that's the way he works. He thinks if he gets his way on cases A, B, and C, he ought to get his way on cases X, Y, and Z. And this University of California system has fallen into the Z category for him. And it remains to be seen if they can afford to pay that. $1 billion US is a lot of money. And what kind of impact that will have in terms of student prospects, in terms of medical research, in terms of all sorts of research. $1 billion taken out of that public system potentially could have catastrophic consequences, but it would also clearly signal to the rest of higher education, you've got to take your obligations to minority students, including Jewish students, very, very seriously.
What are your thoughts towards Donald Trump's attitudes over the protests at universities, over the war in Gaza? Obviously, they're very skeptical of Israel in these protests. We've obviously seen Mahmoud Khalil detained, deportation threats. We've seen wars against, some would say, America's finest educational establishment, Harvard University. How would you analyze Donald Trump's approach to the education system when it comes to these protests?
Well, I think, first of all, I don't think he understands American higher education. He has been a beneficiary of it. He has several degrees. I mean, he knows what it's like to be at one of these institutions. But he's also a very binary thinker, and he has placed these institutions of higher education into the bad category, the category of institutions that need radical reform. And he's also, it's been said many, many times, but I'll say it again, very transactional in his thought processes. He looks at these institutions and he says, you will jump this high or else. And if they don't jump that high, then he pulls out the stick and starts whacking them. And that's what's going on here. Other institutions like Harvard, like Princeton, like Yale, have basically, after protesting a little bit, rolled over and given him what he wanted. And again, I think that's emboldened him to go after, not in terms of prestige, but in terms of money, bigger fish. And he's certainly going after some of the biggest fish in this case. I said earlier that higher education in this country gave in to a moment of moral panic, which was radical overreaction, in which the normal guardrails went away. I think that's true on Trump's side as well. It used to be that the federal government would fund higher education, and otherwise it was hands off because academic freedom, freedom of speech, et cetera, et cetera. And those guardrails seem to have evaporated, evanesced. Trump feels that it's within his purview, it's within his right as president to browbeat these higher education institutions into submission so that they conform to his vision of what higher ed should look like, what academic freedom entails, and what freedom of speech does and doesn't involve.
Andrew Latham, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. Pleasure to have you on the program. Well, unfortunately, that's all